Okay, so I'm just going to talk about setting up drive labels, um, and then using those drive labels as part of your data protection rules. Um, Drive labels is a kind of metadata feature that's available, and it's pretty straightforward to access. You can turn drive labels on through from apps, Google Workspace, and then Drive and Docs. And when you go in there, you'll see that you have the option for labels here, and you can then manage labels from this link here. Now, labels can be of two types. You can have what are called badged labels, and it's a badged label I'm using in the demo today, or you can have some standard labels as well. Creating labels uses this kind of workflow here. So you can create a standard label, a badge label, which will have a kind of colored tags with it. And I'm going to use the file sensitivity one that I've got created on our demo domain here. But you also get some different types of standard labels. So you can just have a kind of project label with no other data associated with it. It's just a standard tag that's just applied to that as metadata. You can have a drop down. So you can add kind of additional information to it just using some options. Or what's really neat, I actually think, is actually having a label with multiple fields. So you could use this, for example, the use case for this that I have is if it's student assessment information, you could have a label which has the date of assessment, which faculty or which department carried out that assessment, and potentially which student that applied to. So you can use it to curate assessment information, potentially, which is a great way to do it. So that's just the way you go for setting up drive labels. The one I'm going to use today is I've got a drive label for file sensitivity, and it's set up as a badge label. And when you edit the badge label, you also see that you've got some options around. These are the options that I can apply for file sensitivity, which have some additional text that can be applied to them. You can set permissions for who can use that label. And you could also, from here, see rules that make use of that label, because it's possible to automatically assign labels. So you could have staff who deal with sensitive information all the time. You could automatically label those files as restricted or sensitive as you need to. So there's some automatic rules that you can apply to manage those files. And you can set up data protection rules, which I'll come to in a second as well. And there's some vault retention stuff that's coming soon as well. So that's just looking at the label and the label setup. But what's really neat is that you can then, from there, so go back here now. I don't share that tab. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Let me just bring that back up. 2 seconds. There we go. Right. So what I can do is if I go to security, access and data controls, and I go to data protection, is that I can use the data protection rules to put in place some protections around those labeled files. So if I go to my managing my rules, what I can do is add a rule. And this is going to prevent external sharing of restricted files. Now I can apply that across the domain, or what I can do is I can actually apply it to particular groups of users, either as a group, included or excluded, or organizational units. So if I've got office staff, for example, I could restrict the office staff so they can't share externally on files that they've labeled as restricted, for example. I'm going to apply this to the whole. Let's just use an organizational unit. Let's use I've got one here for demo school. Oh. Let's go here, demo school. There we go. Continue that. And then it's going to be for Google Drive. and then I'm going to add some conditions. So my conditions are all going to be around the drive label, and my drive label is file sensitivity. And I'm going to use that file sensitivity label that I've got set up. My option is going to be restricted. I have other options that are available there as well. I'm going to go through this, and then my action is I'm going to block external sharing. And I can also do an alert as well. So I could create a medium alert. I could send that to the alert center potentially so that a particular email admins get it. I could send myself a little notification when that somebody attempts to share that externally. Continue that. Then I can check through my sets of rules here and then create that. And what I then get is when I try to share the when I try to then share a restricted file, and let me just go to Drive because I've already got one set up here. So if I go into this file here, and I'm going to share this restricted file, let's go and share it with an external domain here. So Charlie Apps Events. And I'll get that message saying, I can't share it outside the domain. Can't share it outside because it's restricted. So just in summary, it's a really neat way to protect your data, to be able to manage some of the tags on the data that you've got. You can classify the data. You can set up a whole range of restrictions around it and use the labels positively. You can consider how you can do automatic assignment of those labels. So you do certain teaching staff require automatic assignment of labels, or office staff or admin staff and so on. And then you can use the data protection rules to prevent data going outside of your organization when you don't want it to. So really, that's all pretty neat. And just one final thing, of course, you can also use drive labels to investigate incidents. So you can see when people have tried to share something, or you can set up things, for example, you can set up a warning when someone tries to share a particular file. So it allows them to do it, but there's a warning flag and it's flagged up to admins. And you can investigate that as well using the investigation tool. So that's just a really quick overview of drive labels and then using the data protection rules to prevent external sharing and similar.